All right. Good morning, good afternoon, get all of that good Saturday and everything that's going on today. What an exciting day. We're on Raise the Praise 100.com with Carolyn on the Couples Corner, and this is Coach Jay. This is Coach Jay coming to you from Thrive Life Coach, and we're coming in today just to talk to you, just to kind of keep the recipe going with the Coach's Corner and us coming in and talking to everyone. I heard Coach Fee. I even heard some of the young people that were on, the sweetness of their conversations, the depths of their heart that was brought forth, and just to blend on in with Coach Fee. And like you said, Carolyn, she was hitting us left and right. I was in here just on the floor, but it's all fitting. It all goes together, and we know that it all comes together. And so, here I've been brought on to bring to you guys. I want to talk to you a little bit about mindful living. And how we're living from the inside out. How we're living from the inside out. You know, we're doing a lot of things now inside of our home. Our home has become this cocoon for us. We're having to be, families and mothers are having to be the teacher. We're having to be the cook, the chef. We're having to be the exercise gurus. We're having to be, of course, the wife. We're having to even be the spiritual guide. So we're living from the inside out of our home. Our home is our sanctuary. Our home is a place that is supposed to be our comfort zone, our place of peace, and all of that. We're not getting out like we were. We're not having outside entities, entertainment, movies, football games, volleyball games, whatever it was that we found ourselves doing on the outside. We're now finding that we're living from the inside. But you know what? It has become very complex because now everything is in our home. So it caused me to come in and talk a little bit about mindful living and living from the inside out. And so you know what this COVID 19 has done is caused us to know that everything is within our household, and where we have had other entities that influenced us, no matter what it was, it really does come from our house. Being our source, our sanctuary, our launching pad. I heard Coach Fee says, who are our role models? Who are we living in front of that we're causing them to want to be motivated? So I think that this topic today about mindful living from the inside out, is a great way to begin to talk about it. And I want to talk a little bit about what mindful living is. And it really is living life intentionally. We have to live life intentional. And I took a great deal of time to kind of talk about it because I think that's where all of this becomes, mindful living comes with intentions. Intentions is everything. Intentional living and mindful living is living a lifestyle based on our individual consciousness, our consciousness. And for those of us that are believers, our consciousness, it is a lifestyle based on the Holy Spirit guiding us, the Word guiding us, our church guiding us, our pastors guiding us, and that it comes from that conscious place in us. When you have that little angel on the back of your head telling you what you should do, but oftentimes we don't listen to it. So when we are being mindful and living from the inside out, we are listening to the consciousness, and we're attempting to live a life according to specific values and beliefs. And that's a whole nother show when we go to talking about values and beliefs, because some people don't really know if they have values and if they have beliefs. So helping people to sometimes structure their life to find out what do they value or what are their beliefs also is a great way to kind of come in, give a little bit of coaching, give a little bit of guidance so people can kind of know whether they believe and where their values is at, because outside of that, you shouldn't have a lot of other things influencing you, that every day you're shifting and shifting beliefs. This week you believe this, that week you value that, this week you should have a foundational anchor where you have the same values and beliefs. Even though life changes, it goes up and down, but we can be in a place that we know fundamentally what we believe and what we value. So living life intentional is a place of betterment and a place of improvement. I don't know about anybody else, but we all can improve on everything, the way we think, the way we talk, the people we're with, and everything. And so we want to talk today about mindful living, living it intentionally, with the task that's before you. And we want to be in a zone free of procrastination. And I'm being transparent myself. We all have areas that we are slowful. We are not as quick to accomplish or achieve, but we can be procrastinators, and it's a detriment to our own self. So we want to be mindful. We know that this is not going to change overnight, Carolyn. It's not going to change overnight. But what we're trying to do in these steps, in these coaching sessions, is bring to your mind to the forefront, to make you mindful, to make that whatever you do for your life is intentional, and that you're doing it with purpose and on purpose. You know, life is not just having you, but you are able to have a force against life and to begin to have purpose and to move forward. Here's another point to consider when you're having a mindful living and living from the inside out, is that it's a place of living in the present situation, even if it's unpleasant. So right here, oftentimes we are become runners or escape people. We run from problems, or we run from a situation that's uncomfortable. And you know that thing never gets solved. It never comes to a solution. You find that you keep facing these same problems. It may be a different person, different situation, different scenario, different circumstance. But you find, like, why does this keep following me? Why does this keep coming up in my life? So that's because we're not in a place of mindful living. And so we are running from unpleasant situations, and we're not present. I have my friends and my sisters, and they talk about, girl, did you see that when that happened? And I was like, no, I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. They said, well, you were sitting right there. I said, oh, I must have blacked out. You know, that's kind of become my little thing. Like, if something kind of becomes uncomfortable to me, I just kind of fade out. I don't even hear it. I don't even see it. I don't even let it register in my understanding. So sometimes we can be in that place where it's unpleasant, and so we just numb out. We just fade out. We don't hear. We pretend. Or we in denial. And so to be mindful living, we can't do that. We gotta stay present. We gotta work things out. You know, there's a saying that I always say whenever I do coaching, and that is, what you don't talk out, you act out. So even though you may not talk about some things, you may avoid it, you may run away from it in some form or fashion or another, it comes out in you anyway. And so you act it out versus talking it out. So we want to, in mindful living, be in a place where we are present in the moment, not running away, not avoiding conversations, not avoiding situations that are uncomfortable to us, but we are present. We're going to hang in there, and we possibly could come out learning something, not only about the other person, but about ourselves. And that thing won't have the fear and the anxiety and stress that it had been given us, because we faced it, you know. And so mindful living is to live in the presence. Here's another thought that I want us to have when we're talking about mindful living on today, is that we got to stop overthinking. We can't have overthinking and worry, because, as I was saying earlier, the fear factor can really explode in your mind and in your life, and everything you do, you begin to react or run as a form of how to cope and deal with things. And so we got to be in a place that we don't overthink it, overkill, and we can't worry about it, even our frustrations. To have mindful living, we can't have these things operating and ruling our lives. So we got to get rid of the frustration and stop worrying about the past, and also scared of the future. Those are some other areas that come to rob us from having mindful living, because our focus have become now off of what really is in front of us and what really is important. And we can begin to worry about to be worried about our past, what's been done to us, how it's been done to us, and then worried about our future because we're worried about our past. And can't you hear how we're on a cycle? We're on a vicious cycle, just continually going around and around and around in a circle, and things are happening right in front of us at a very moment, and we're missing it because we're not in a place of mindful living. And we're letting other things from the outside rule us from the inside. Here's another thing that we want to be mindful of is decluttering our lives. Now, I'm going to say that again. That's another challenging area and another challenging place where we are decluttering. I know through some of this quarantine, I've been hearing people cleaning out their closets. They've been getting rid of things that they use. And you know what we're finding out? A lot of things that we thought we could not be without and couldn't live without. We're learning a more simpler life that we can live as a result of being quarantined, being in our homes, and letting our homes be that place of sanctuary. We are really learning how sometimes less is best. And that we can really maintain our households from the inside out and not other outside influences. So decluttering your life in overload. Sometimes we're just very busy. You know, Carolyn, we can have a schedule and we can be such a multitasker in life. And that feels good to some people. That is very productive. But at some point, you know, you got to look and see, is this something that is really being a place of peace, being a place of healing, being a place of a sanctuary for you in your life? Because the busyness could be causing you to have the stress and the tension. And so we want to be mindful that not to overload our schedules. And you know, we got to have boundaries. Got to be able to have some boundaries and mindful living. We gotta be able to say no sometimes. Sometimes we're saying yes on everything, and it's stressing us out. And so we're just in a place that we're in an awesome opportunity to start changing our lives. All the things that we said we wanted to do, now we're getting an opportunity to do it, and we're doing it from a place from inside out. Are there any callers, any comments? You can call in and 346-355-0100, and any encouraging, any words that anybody want to bring to this, please call in, and we'd like to talk with you or just share how we're trying to reach this mindful living. But decluttering our lives, get the load off of your back. Too much going on. We all can't be super women, super men. We are humans, and we need to be able to know how much we can carry, how much we can handle at one given time. And listen, when we're talking about all of this, having mindful living and living from the inside out, we're not trying to shift the blame on others. You know, I hope that we're not like, I could do better if it wasn't for someone else. We don't want to shift the blame on others and We don't forever want to be a victim of what some of the things that have happened to us that's caused us to have to live a life that's kind of stressful. But we want to remember that we need to be talking and being mindful and thinking about how we live. And remember, I said we have to have intentional living where we are purposing and planning our lives, and we are understanding our strengths and weaknesses and places of where we can do better and begin to strengthen ourselves because of the understanding and intentions that we have for our lives. Does that make sense? Am I helping? Am I hurting? Are there any callers? Not yet. All right, we're going to keep going. So here, listen, after we talked about remembering and being mindful and understanding that requires living from the inside out, here is what mindful living is. It's self-reflection. You're going to hear me talk a whole lot about self-reflection because I think oftentimes we do shift the blame on other people, and sometimes we have been the victims of things that have happened to us, and we can get stuck in that, and we can be in a place where we don't grow. And so we don't ever take the time to have some self-reflection. And let me tell you this, we always talk about what happened to us. But sometimes we have victimized people. Sometimes we have victimized and hurt people by some of the things and bullied people by some of our own behaviors. So when we take self-reflection, we want you to be mindful of what part did I play in or some of the things that have caused me to be off-centered, caused me to have the stress and the struggle that has caused life to seem like it's heavy on me. We want to do some self-reflections. We can't change anybody else, but we certainly can change ourselves. But we do know that change will not happen overnight, but overnight we can start changing. How about that, Carolyn? And here's another thing, self-improvements. You're going to hear me talk a lot about in my coaching sessions is about having some self-improvements. I think we can't work on anything or nothing else unless we work on ourselves. And that's a full-time project. I don't know about anybody else, but me working on me is a full-time project. And that's why I can't get too entertained and too bogged down about anyone else and changing them and hoping that they change. But I have to work on myself. We got to do the work. We got to have the self-reflection and self-improvements. And that's called mindful living. Another thing is taking the focus off our past, taking the focus off regrets and future problems. I think I said that earlier. Those three areas can cause us to stay on that hamster wheel. We continue to stay on that hamster wheel, looking at our past, regretting it, and then we are fearful of future problems because of past performances. And so we just stay in that cycle. So we want to break that cycle where that we take the focus off. Whatever the past is, we got to learn to what? Let it go. I'm gonna say that again. Whatever's in the past, you got to let it go. You can't continue to keep rehashing what someone failed to do or what someone did or didn't do or even what part you played in it. You got to let go of the past. And you got to not live in regret or shame for what has happened. You can't gain another day, another hour or second to your life by living in these areas. And you can't get stuck for your future and going forward and having a forward momentum in your life because you're stuck in regret and past and not letting go. Here's a big thing. We have to forgive. Now that's another topic and another show. But I just want to say that to people that it is forgiveness. I know it's not popular. When you talk about forgiveness, there is a great entourage of what has happened to me. And some say I forgive, but I won't forget. That's not the true work of forgiveness. I must say that. And so that's another time and another subject. But I want to say to you, here's a great time while we are living on the inside out, while we are having to come in and be self-reflective and having self-improvements and letting go, we can start by truly forgiving. And this will be a healing place for you. That when we emerge and we can come back out in the communities, come back out in societies, we won't come out with the same stuff that we had on us before we were locked down and in quarantine. We are forever changed because of this. And you know what? I want to be really changed because this lets us know that life is short. Life is short. And we are not promised the next hour, the next minute, or the next second. So I'm saying to everyone and being mindful, what are you doing about your present time that's going to help you for your future promises as a result of going through this COVID-19 pandemic? We need to start thinking, and our lives will be changed as a result of that. And so, those are some things that we need to think about. Look at life as a circle. We have our family, our nucleus family, and that is our circle. And so inside of that circle, we have to make sure that our children and our children's children, and leaving legacies and leaving a role model and a map that's going to help that circle that we're a part of. And anything outside of that circle, well, we because we live in this circle, we can't worry about it. That's that outside living. That's that keeping up with the Joneses. That's that keeping up with the Kardashians. That's that living the pop culture, the reality show. All those things influence people and cause them to get caught up in being something and doing something that they're not supposed to be. So let's think about that. That circle means a place of life-giving and life-sustaining. But if we can control that, we are actually creating legacies. That means, Carolyn, your children's children and my children's children, we're giving them a legacy of something that they can hold on to in times like this. I know the forefathers and mothers in my life and my parents have given me something that even in this time now that nobody has ever seen, and they certainly didn't know was happening, but something that they taught me on the inside has registered that's causing me to have peace in the middle of this pandemic. That's what we want to leave with our generation of people, and we want to impact our community so that people are not giving up and giving out and feeling like they can't make it. So that's mindful living. Stay in the moment. Don't escape. Don't choose distractions that's going to take you away from improving yourself and bettering yourself. Here are 4 signs that we're living on the outside of things, or we're not living a mindful life. Number 1 is that we're distracted and we're drifting. So whatever distracting is, social media, it's kind of hard. We're inside now. Probably if you already was attached to it, you're even more attached to it because we're inside now. And we're not really getting out and having the things that we wanted to do, so we may be distracted. So how distracted are you? Let's be mindful. Also, number 2 is frequently complaining. Do you complain a lot? Do you find yourself complaining about everything? Maybe just lately you have noticed it, or maybe you've realized you do complain a lot. So those are signs that you're living from the outside instead of on the inside, and not being mindful about your life. This goes along with what Coach Fee said, emotional eating. Are you eating a lot as a result of being living on the outside instead of the inside, building and working on your inner man? helping create some positive and healthy choices. And also, the fourth one is letting life happen to you. You know, I used to tell my son when he was in his early 20s about can you see further down the road of what's going on? Do you plan? Do you have a place of preparation? Do you have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, just in case life happens? And he really would get angry about that statement because he felt like, you know, who has time for that? Who has time to be looking down the road? But I'm going to tell you, your life will be a whole lot better, more peaceful, if you can learn how to have a place of awareness and that you can look down the road and anticipate some things and pitfalls that's going on in your life. Mindful living. Here's another thought. We got to have the awareness. This is going to help us have awareness of ourselves, not others. Because whenever we go through coaching, teaching, preaching moments, most people get a visual of other people, but they never get the visual of themselves. And so therefore, we're missing the mark. We're missing the mark because our concentration is never on ourselves and we're not improving. So we got to have awareness. And we got to analyze our emotions. And so we got to think things through. Even though emotions are okay, we got to understand that emotions are not reliable. Emotions may not be factual because we can think a certain thing and get emotional about it. But when we actually have the opportunity to sit down and talk about it and share with people, the emotions that we feel, we may find out it's not at all of what we thought it was. And so therefore, we need to analyze our emotion, think it through, and look for alternatives for when we have trouble with certain types of emotions. That can help prevent us having coping abilities, because sometimes we find that we don't have good coping skills, good coping abilities, and anger is the only emotion some of us know how to show, or some of us just begin to be numb. So if we can analyze our emotions, think it through, and to look for alternatives of how we're going to respond in situations, I think that's mindful living. And then, let me tell you, this is something that's hard to do. Ask for feedback. Talk to some of your friends, your mentors, people that's really going to tell you the truth, and get feedback from them and ask for their perspective. And finally, I want to say this. Don't beat yourself up about this. Just do better. Just be better and be mindful. And remember, this is not about being perfect. This is not about being perfect, where we don't make no mistakes and we don't have any bad thoughts and we don't do anything. This is not about perfection. It's about maturing. And maturing means we are growing. Things we did at 18, we're not doing at 30. Things we did at 30, we're not doing at 40. Things we did at 40, we're not doing at 50. And so you get the message. So in other words, we are improving. We're improving our lives and the seasons that we're in, and we're walking through looking for improvement. And maturity and being aware of each moment in your life, and take your life off of the autopilot, just going through the motions. Mindful living is living in the moment and understanding and having awareness and alertness and consciousness and purpose-driven life. This is the conclusion of my talk. I hope that people had some intentional thinking and some purpose. I think we might even need to start a journal, Carolyn. I think that we need to come Saturdays with our journals so we can talk about and write down some of the things for us to be mindful of, so that people can start structuring their lives as they know they need help. Nobody knows better than the person, you yourself. Even though we can give you coaching tips and points at the end of these talks and motivations is to inspire you to dig into yourself and begin to be that authentic person that you are. That's it. That's Coach Jay at the Coach's Corner with Thrive Life Coach. RaiseThePraise100.com.
All right, you all here.
All right. What a day. You had a great day, girl.